The boy who lost his parents in an accident was caring for his little sister alone until a stranger showed up with an unexpected offer. The deafening crash of thunder rattled the windows of the small apartment, startling Logan Carter. His eyes, marked by deep dark circles, were fixed on the digital clock on the bedside table, 3:17 in the morning. He sighed, running his hands over his tired face. Another night of interrupted sleep, another day that would begin without rest. Logan rose silently, his bare feet barely making a sound on the cold floor. He crossed the narrow corridor, stopping in front of a door decorated with colorful stickers of unicorns and rainbows. He turned the handle carefully and peeked inside. There, wrapped in a pink bedspread, slept Lily, her 6-year-old sister. Her golden curls spread across the pillow like a halo, and her soft breathing was the only sound in the room. Logan felt his heart squeeze. How could someone so small carry so much of his world? Closing the door, he returned to the kitchen. The pile of unpaid bills on the table seemed to grow by the day, a mountain of paper that threatened to collapse on him. Logan picked one of them up, running his eyes over the red numbers that screamed, "Overdue." He threw it back onto the pile, feeling the weight of responsibility crush his shoulders. At just 19, Logan found himself thrust into a role he never asked for. 8 months ago, his parents, Robert and Michelle Carter, had gone out to celebrate their wedding anniversary. The rainy night, the slippery road, a drunk driver coming the other way. In the blink of an eye, Logan and Lily had become orphans. The sound of rain against the kitchen window brought Logan back to the present. He moved closer, watching the drops trickle down the glass, forming little rivers that joined and separated. How had his life become so complicated in such a short space of time? Before the accident, Logan was an ordinary university student in Portland, Oregon. His biggest problem was deciding which party to go to at the weekend, or how to balance his studies with his part-time job at the campus bookstore. Now, he was solely responsible for a 6-year-old child, struggling to keep a roof over their heads and food on the table. Logan turned his attention to the almost empty fridge. A photo held by a magnet caught his eye, him and Lily smiling on their parents' shoulders during a picnic in the park. The image seemed to belong to another life, one in which smiles came easily and worries were few. The sound of hesitant footsteps made him turn around. Lily was standing in the kitchen doorway, her big blue eyes, so like her mother's, wide with fear. "Logan?" Her voice was small, shaky. "I had a bad dream." In 2 steps, Logan was at her side, kneeling down so that he was eye level with her. "It's all right, Lil. It was just a bad dream." He pulled her into an embrace, feeling her little arms tighten around him. "I dreamt that you were leaving too," Lily murmured against his shoulder, her voice choked with tears. Logan's heart broke a little more. "I'm not going anywhere, Brat. I promise." He lifted her into his arms, feeling her familiar weight against his chest. "How about we make some hot chocolate and wait for the storm to pass?" Lily nodded, a small smile appearing on her lips. Logan sat her down at the kitchen counter and started preparing the drinks, his movements automatic as his mind wandered. How could he go on like this? His parents' life insurance money was running out fast. He had dropped out of college to look after Lily full-time, but he knew he would need a job soon. The thought of leaving his sister alone or with strangers terrified him. But what choice did he have? "Logan?" Lily's voice brought him back to the present. "Do you think Mom and Dad are watching us from up there?" The question caught him off guard. Logan looked up at the ceiling, as if he could see through it, straight to the stars hidden by the storm clouds. "I'm sure they do, Lil, and I bet they're very proud of how brave you're being." Lily smiled, that smile that lit up her whole face and reminded Logan why she was fighting so hard. "They must be proud of you too. You make the best hot chocolate in the world." Logan laughed, handing her a steaming mug. "Well, someone has to keep the standards high around here, don't they?" They sipped their chocolate in comfortable silence, the sound of the rain creating a soft melody in the background. Logan watched his sister, amazed at her resilience. Despite everything, she could still smile, still find joy in the little things. Perhaps, he thought, he could learn something from her. The rest of the evening passed slowly, Logan and Lily chatting about nothing in particular, laughing at silly jokes and reminiscing about happy times with their parents. By the time the first rays of sunlight began to penetrate through the gaps in the curtain, Lily had fallen asleep on the sofa, wrapped in a blanket. Logan carefully picked her up in his arms and carried her back to the bedroom. As he laid her on the bed, she murmured sleepily, "I love you, Logan." "I love you too, brat," he replied, kissing her forehead. Back in the living room, Logan began his morning routine. He had to make breakfast, get Lily ready for school, clean the house, do the shopping. The list seemed endless. But while he was organizing his sister's backpack, his eyes fell on a drawing she had done at school. 3 stick figures, 2 big and 1 small, all holding hands and smiling. Underneath, in crooked, colorful letters, was written, "My family, Logan, me and guardian angel." Logan felt a lump in his throat. Maybe they didn't have parents anymore, but they still had each other. And for Lily, he was willing to face any challenge. The sound of the doorbell surprised him. Who could it be at that time of the morning? Logan walked hesitantly to the door. When he opened it, he was confronted by a middle-aged man, wearing a well-cut suit and carrying a leather briefcase. "Good morning," the man said, his tone formal but not unkind. "You must be Logan Carter. My name is Richard Hawthorne. May I come in? I have a proposition that could change your life." Logan hesitated, his protective instinct immediately on alert. But there was something in the man's expression, a mixture of compassion and determination, that intrigued him. After a moment's consideration, he opened the door wider. "Come in, Mr. Hawthorne," Logan said, his voice cautious. "But make it brief. I have a sister to take to school soon." As the stranger entered the apartment, Logan couldn't imagine how that unexpected encounter was about to turn his world upside down once again. The offer Richard Hawthorne brought with him was just the beginning of a journey that would test the limits of Logan's love, loyalty, and courage. The storm outside had passed, but a new one was about to form on the horizon of the Carter brothers' lives. Logan watched Richard Hawthorne settle into the worn sofa in the living room, feeling a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. The man seemed out of place in the modest surroundings, his impeccable suit contrasting with the worn furniture and the walls that required a new coat of paint. "Mr. Carter," Hawthorne began, his voice calm and measured, "I am aware of your current situation, the loss of your parents, the sudden responsibility for your younger sister. It can't have been easy." Logan felt his body stiffen. How did this stranger know so much about his life? "With all due respect, Mr. Hawthorne, who exactly are you, and what do you want?" An understanding smile appeared on the older man's lips. "I'm a lawyer representing the New Chance Foundation. We're an organization that helps young people in complicated situations, so to speak, and we believe that you and your sister are a perfect fit for our program." Logan frowned, suspicious. "What kind of program?" Hawthorne opened his briefcase, pulling out some documents. "We have a property in Ashland, Oregon, a spacious house with a large yard. We're offering you and your sister the opportunity to live there, free of charge, for 2 years. Logan's jaw dropped. It sounded too good to be true. "And what do you get out of it?" "Our foundation believes in second chances, Mr. Carter. We want to see young people like you thrive, not just survive." Hawthorne paused, his eyes settling on Logan's. "In return, we ask only that you complete your studies and allow us to document your journey. Your story may inspire others." Logan felt his head spin. The offer was tempting, almost irresistible. A real home for Lily, the chance to go back to college. But years of early responsibility had taught him to be cautious. "Can I think about it?" he asked, his voice betraying a mixture of hope and hesitation. Hawthorne nodded, handing him a card. "Of course. Take your time. But don't take too long. Opportunities like this are rare." After Hawthorne left, Logan stood in the living room, the card weighing as heavy in his hand as if it were made of lead. The sound of light footsteps brought him back to reality. "Logan?" Lily's sleepy voice filled the room. "Who was that man?" He turned around, forcing a smile. "Nobody important, brat. Come on. Time to get ready for school." The rest of the morning passed in a blur. Logan prepared breakfast, helped Lily get dressed, and drove her to school, all on autopilot. His mind was miles away, lost in possibilities and fears. On returning to the apartment, Logan found himself staring at Hawthorne's card again. The thought of such a drastic change frightened him, but the prospect of continuing to struggle day after day, watching his savings dwindle, was no less terrifying. Deciding he needed some fresh air to clear his mind, Logan grabbed his jacket and headed out. The streets of Portland were bustling, the frenetic pace of the city nothing like the whirlwind in his head. Without realizing it, his steps led him to Washington Park. Logan sat on a bench, watching the families strolling by, the children running and laughing. For a moment, he imagined Lily having a backyard to play in, a space of her own to grow and develop. "Hey, Carter!" A familiar voice snapped him out of his daydreams. It was Mike Sullivan, his old college buddy. "Mike, long time no see," Logan greeted, trying to sound more excited than he really felt. Mike sat down next to him, his jovial face marked by an expression of concern. "How are you, man? I heard about, well, you know." Logan nodded, grateful for his friend's concern, but uncomfortable with the pity in his voice. "We're managing. Lily's strong, you know." "And you?" Mike asked, his eyes searching Logan's. "You need to be strong too, but you don't have to do everything yourself." Mike's words hit Logan like a punch in the gut. How many times in recent months had he felt completely alone, carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders? "Actually," Logan began, surprised at his own willingness to share, "I got an offer today, something that could change everything for me and Lily." As he explained Hawthorne's proposal, Logan realized that he was seeking not only Mike's advice, but also permission. Permission to consider the offer, to think about himself, if only for a moment. Mike listened intently, his face going through a range of emotions. When Logan had finished, he was silent for a few seconds before speaking. "Logan, man, that sounds incredible, but I understand your hesitation. It's a big change." Mike paused, choosing his next words carefully. "You know, sometimes the bravest thing we can do is accept help when it's offered." Mike's words echoed in Logan's mind for the rest of the day. Back at the apartment, he found himself looking at the family photos scattered across the walls. His parents had always encouraged him to pursue his dreams, to not be afraid to take risks. What would they say now? The afternoon dragged on, each minute seeming like an eternity as Logan weighed up the pros and cons of the offer. When it came time to pick Lily up from school, he still hadn't come to a decision. On the way home, Lily chattered excitedly about her day, her eyes sparkling as she told him about art class and the new friend she had made. Logan listened with half an ear, his mind still caught up in the dilemma he was facing. "Logan?" Lily's voice brought him back to the present. "Are you sad?" He looked at her, surprised at her insight. "No, Brett, I'm just thinking about some things." Lily frowned, her expression too serious for someone so young. "Is it because of that man who came this morning? Did he say something bad?" Logan sighed, realizing that he shouldn't, hide it from her. After all, the decision would affect both their lives. "Actually, Lil, he made an offer, something that could be very good for us." As he explained the proposal in simple terms that Lily could understand, Logan watched the emotions pass across his sister's face. Confusion, excitement, and, finally, a thoughtful expression that reminded him painfully of his mother. "But what about my friends? What about my school?" Lily asked, her voice small. "I know it would be hard, Lil. We'd have to start again in a new place. But think of all the new adventures we could have." Logan tried to sound excited, more to convince himself than her. Lily was silent for a moment, her small face frowning in concentration. Then, to Logan's surprise, she smiled. "You know what? The teacher said today that sometimes you have to be brave to do new things. I think we can be brave together, don't you?" Logan felt a lump form in his throat. How could his 6-year-old little sister be so wise? "Yes, Lil, we can be brave together." That night, after putting Lily to bed, Logan sat in the kitchen, Hawthorne's card in one hand and his cell phone in the other. He looked at the photo of his parents on the fridge, searching for strength. "I hope they're proud," he muttered to the smiling image. Then, with a deep sigh, he dialed the number on the card. Hawthorne's voice answered on the second ring. "Mr. Carter, good to hear from you." Logan closed his eyes, visualizing the future he could have. Lily running around in a big yard, himself back at school, a real chance to honor his parents, memory by being the best possible guardian for his sister. "Mr. Hawthorne," Logan said, his voice steady despite the swirl of emotions in his chest, "we accept your offer." On the other end of the line, Logan could have sworn he heard a smile in Hawthorne's voice. "Excellent decision, Mr. Carter. I believe this will mark the beginning of an exciting new journey for you and your sister." As he hung up the phone, Logan felt a mixture of fear and hope. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in months, he allowed himself to dream of possibilities instead of worrying about obstacles. Tomorrow would bring a flurry of preparations, explanations, and goodbyes. But at that moment, in that silent kitchen, Logan Carter felt that he had finally taken the first step towards a new beginning. The engine of the moving van rumbled softly as Logan guided the vehicle along the winding roads that led to Ashland, Oregon. Beside him, Lily pressed her nose against the window, her wide eyes taking in the ever-changing landscape. "Logan, look, those are real cows," she exclaimed, pointing to a field where a herd grazed lazily. Logan smiled, feeling a mixture of excitement and apprehension bubble up in his stomach. The last 2 weeks had been a rush of packing, saying goodbye and finalizing documents. Now, with Portland lagging behind, the reality of his decision was beginning to set in. "Hey, Lil," he said, keeping his eyes on the road. "What do you say we stop for a snack? There's a little town just up ahead." Lily nodded enthusiastically, her contagious energy helping to relieve some of the tension Logan was feeling. Minutes later, they parked in front of a small diner called Saberdew Interior. The doorbell jingled as they entered, and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and homemade pie enveloped them. A middle-aged waitress with a badge that read Betty greeted them with a warm smile. "Welcome, dears. Table for 2. Logan nodded, following Betty to a table by the window. As they perused the menu, he couldn't help noticing how different everything seemed from Portland. The slower pace, the easy smiles of the other customers, the air of familiarity that permeated the place. "What'll it be?" asked Betty, pen in hand. I think I'll have a turkey sandwich and a coffee, please," replied Logan. "And for you, Lil?" Lily bit her lip, thoughtfully. "Can I have pancakes? With lots of syrup?" Betty laughed. "Of course you can, sweetie. Pancakes on a whim coming up." While they waited for their food, Logan watched Lily sketching in her notebook, her small hands working furiously to capture the diner scene. He wondered, not for the first time, if he had made the right decision. Would Ashland be a good place for Lily to grow up? Would he be able to balance his studies with the responsibilities of looking after her? "What's up, honey?" Betty's voice snapped him out of his thoughts. She was putting the plates on the table, her gentle gaze fixed on him. "Oh, yeah, thanks," Logan replied, a little embarrassed to have been caught rambling. Betty tilted her head, an understanding smile on her lips. "You seem to be on quite an adventure. Moving?" Logan nodded, surprised by the woman's insight. "Yes, we're going to Ashland. It's a new beginning for us." "Ah, Ashland. What a lovely place," Betty exclaimed. "I'm sure you'll love it. And if you need anything, don't hesitate to stop by. Sometimes a friendly ear and a slice of pie can do wonders." Betty's warm words brought a genuine smile to Logan's face. "Thank you, Betty. That means a lot." The rest of the meal passed in a lighter mood, with Lily excitedly telling Betty about her new room, which she didn't know yet, but had already planned in detail, and Logan feeling some of the weight on his shoulders ease. Back on the road, with Ashland getting closer and closer, Logan allowed himself a moment of optimism. Maybe, just maybe, everything would work out. The GPS announced that they had reached their destination, and Logan felt his heart racing. The removal van turned into a tree-lined street, the houses gradually becoming more spaced out until, finally, they pulled up in front of a 2-story house with a large front garden. "Wow," whispered Lily, her eyes wide with admiration. Logan had to agree. The house was beautiful, with its wooden facade painted in a soft shade of blue and a cozy porch that seemed to invite long afternoons of reading outdoors. Before they could get out of the van, the front door opened and Richard Hawthorne stepped out, accompanied by a friendly-looking woman. "Welcome to Ashland," Hawthorne greeted them warmly as they approached. "I hope the journey was uneventful." Logan nodded, still a little dazed by the reality of it all. "It was, thank you. It's really amazing here." The woman next to Hawthorne stepped forward, holding out her hand. "I'm Claire Bennett, a social worker from the New Chance Foundation. I'm here to help you get settled." Lily, who until then had been partially hidden behind Logan's legs, stepped forward. "Does the house have a swing?" she asked, her voice a mixture of shyness and expectation. Claire smiled, bending down to meet Lily's eyes. "Actually, it does, and you know what? I think we can install one more, if you want. How about showing me where you think it would look perfect?" Lily's eyes lit up, and she looked at Logan for permission. With a nod from him, she took Claire's hand and the two made their way to the backyard, Lily's excited voice echoing as she shared her ideas. "Mr. Carter," Hawthorne caught Logan's eye, "how about we take a look at the house? I'm sure you're looking forward to seeing where you and your sister will be living." Logan followed Hawthorne inside, each step a mixture of anticipation and disbelief. The house was even more impressive inside, spacious, well-lit, and tastefully furnished. "This will be your office." Hawthorne indicated a room on the first floor. "We thought you'd need a quiet space to study." Logan ran his fingers along the smooth surface of the desk, imagining himself there, immersed in books and resuming the dreams that had been interrupted so abruptly. As they climbed the stairs, Hawthorne continued, "There are 3 bedrooms upstairs, one for you, one for Lily, and one for guests. Oh, and Claire lives just 2 streets away in case you need anything." Standing in the upstairs corridor, Logan felt a wave of emotion hit him. It was all so perfect, so far beyond what he could ever have provided for Lily on his own. "Mr. Hawthorne," he began, his voice breaking, "I don't know how to thank you. It's more than I could have dreamed of." Hawthorne placed a comforting hand on Logan's shoulder. "You don't have to thank me, Logan. You and Lily deserve this. All we ask is that you take advantage of this opportunity, study hard, and allow your story to inspire others." At that moment, they heard Lily's laughter coming from the backyard. Logan approached the window and saw his sister running across the grass, Claire just behind, both looking perfectly at ease. "I think Lily's already fallen in love with the place," Hawthorne commented with a smile. Logan nodded, feeling a mixture of gratitude and determination solidify in his chest. "We've both fallen in love." The next few hours were a blur of unloading boxes, arranging rooms and exploring every corner of the new house. Lily was ecstatic, running from room to room, planning where she would put each of her toys and books. It was late at night when Claire and Hawthorne finally said goodbye, promising to come back the next day to help with anything that was needed. Logan closed the door behind them, leaning against it for a moment, exhausted but strangely energized. "Logan!" Lily's sleepy voice called out to him from the living room. He found her curled up on the sofa, her eyes struggling to stay open. "Hey, Brat," he smiled, sitting down next to her. "What did you think of our first day here?" Lily yawned, snuggling closer to him. "It was the best day ever. I think I'm going to like it here." Logan slipped his arm around her, pulling her close. "I think so too, Lil. I think so too." As Lily fell asleep in his arms, Logan looked out of the window at the starry Ashland sky. The future was still uncertain, full of challenges he could barely imagine. But for the first time in a long time, he allowed himself to feel hope. Here, in this house, in this town, they had the chance of a new beginning. And Logan was determined to make the best of this opportunity, not just for himself, but for the little girl asleep in his arms and for the memory of the parents who had trusted him to look after her. With a deep sigh, Logan closed his eyes, finally allowing himself to relax. Tomorrow would be a new day, the first of many in his new life in Ashland, and he couldn't wait to see what the future held for them. The shrill sound of the alarm clock roused Logan from a deep sleep. For a moment, he was disoriented, his eyes blinking confusedly at the unfamiliar ceiling. Then reality hit him. They were in Ashland. This was his new home. Stretching, Logan got out of bed and walked over to the window. The morning sun bathed the yard in a golden glow, the grass still damp with dew. It was a sight he still wasn't used to, so different from the busy streets of Portland. "Logan?" Lily's sleepy voice came from the hallway. "What time is it?" He opened the door, finding his sister standing there, her hair tousled and still in her pajamas. "Time to start our first real day in Ashland, brat. Ready for adventure?" Lily nodded, a sleepy smile spreading across her face. "Can we have breakfast on the balcony?" "Of course," Logan replied, ruffling her hair affectionately. "Go get dressed while I make us something to eat." As Logan prepared pancakes in the spacious kitchen, his mind wandered to the events of the next few days. Today, he and Lily were going to see the school where she would be studying. Tomorrow, he had a meeting at Southern Oregon University to discuss his readmission in the study program. And at some point, they would need to explore the city, go shopping, meet the neighbors. The weight of responsibility threatened to overwhelm him for a moment. But Logan took a deep breath, remembering Betty's words in the cafeteria, "One step at a time." "Wow, that smells good," Lily exclaimed, entering the kitchen dressed in her favorite overalls and carrying her inseparable drawing pad. Logan smiled, placing a plate of pancakes in front of her. "Good morning, artist. Ready to draw our new city?" Lily's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Yes. Can I take my pad to school today?" "Of course you can," Logan replied, taking a seat next to her with his own plate. "But remember, today is just to get to know the place, okay? Classes don't start until next week." They ate on the terrace, as Lily had asked, watching the birds hopping across the lawn and listening to the distant sound of a dog barking. It was a quiet, almost idyllic morning, and Logan found himself relaxing for the first time in months. After breakfast, they got into the car, a used model that Hawthorne had provided as part of the program, and drove to Ashland Elementary School. The school building was a charming red brick structure, with a large playground visible at the back. "Mr. Carter, Lily, welcome." A middle-aged woman with a warm smile greeted them at the entrance. "I'm Diane Reynolds, the principal. We've been looking forward to meeting you." Logan shook her hand, feeling a little nervous. "Thank you for seeing us, Mrs. Reynolds. I hope we're not causing too much trouble, arriving in the middle of the school year." "Not at all," Diane assured them, leading them into the building. "We love welcoming new students. Ashland is a welcoming community. You'll see." As they walked through the corridors, Diane explained the school's programs, extracurricular activities, and teaching philosophy. Logan listened attentively, asking occasional questions, but his attention was divided. He couldn't help noticing how small Lily looked next to the other children passing by, how her eyes widened at each new sight. "And this will be Lily's room," Diane announced, stopping in front of a door decorated with colorful drawings. "Lily, how about we go in and meet your teacher?" Lily, who until then had been partially hidden behind Logan's legs, hesitated. "Is Logan coming in too?" "Of course, brat," Logan assured her, taking her hand. "We're in this together, remember?" The classroom was cheerful and welcoming, with tables arranged in small groups and the walls covered in students. Work. A young woman with curly hair and a kind smile approached them. "Hello, you must be Lily," she said, bending down to meet the girl's eyes. "I'm Miss Olivia." "I'm so glad you're joining our class," Lily smiled shyly, her hand still firmly grasped in Logan's. "Hi," she murmured. "You know, Lily," Olivia continued, her tone soft and encouraging, "I hear you like to draw a lot. Is that true?" Lily's eyes lit up and she nodded enthusiastically. "Yes, I brought my drawing pad today." "How wonderful!" Olivia exclaimed. "How about you show me some of your drawings while your brother talks to Mrs. Reynolds? I promise to return it in a few minutes," she added, looking at Logan with a reassuring smile. Logan hesitated for a moment, but seeing the growing enthusiasm on Lily's face, He nodded. "What's up, Lil? I'll be right outside if you need me." Lily let go of his hand, already pulling her sketchpad out of her backpack. "Okay, Logan." As Logan and Diane left the room, he couldn't help but look back, seeing Lily already engrossed in animated conversation with Olivia. A mixture of pride and melancholy washed over him. His little sister was growing up, facing this new world with a courage that constantly surprised him. "Mr. Carter," Diane's voice brought him back to the present. "There's something I'd like to discuss with you in private." Her serious tone made Logan's stomach contract. "Is there a problem?" Diane guided him into her office, closing the door behind them. "It's not exactly a problem, but, well, we're aware of your situation. The loss of your parents, the sudden move. We want to make sure Lily has all the support she needs during this transition." Logan nodded slowly, feeling a knot forming in his throat. I'm doing the best I can." "Oh, honey," Diane said softly, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. "I'm not questioning your efforts. On the contrary, what I'm offering is additional support. We have an excellent school counselor, and we'd like to schedule some sessions for Lily's if you agree. In addition, there are support groups for children who have experienced similar losses." The offer took Logan by surprise. In Portland, struggling to keep up with the bills and a roof over their heads, he'd barely had time to consider the emotional support Lily might need beyond what he could offer. That would be great," he finally replied, his voice a little hoarse. "Thank you." Diane smiled gently. "We're here to help, Mr. Carter. Not just Lily, but you too. Being a young guardian isn't easy. If you need to talk, my door is always open." When they left the office, they found Lily waiting in the corridor, her eyes shining with excitement. "Logan, Miss Olivia said I can bring my teddy bear on the first day of school, and there's an art club after school. Can I join, please?" Logan laughed, the weight on his chest easing a little at the sight of her enthusiasm. "Of course you can, brat. It looks like you're going to have a lot of fun here." On the way home, Lily chattered nonstop about everything she had seen and heard, her sketchpad already full of sketches of the new school. Logan listened with a smile, occasionally asking questions or making encouraging comments. When they arrived home, they found Claire waiting on the porch, a basket in her hands. "Hi, you two. I thought I'd stop by and see how your day went and bring you a little welcome gift." Inside the basket was homemade bread, jam, and a bottle of local apple juice. The delicious aroma made Logan's stomach rumble, reminding him that they hadn't had lunch. "That's very kind, Claire." "Thank you," Logan said, genuinely touched by the gesture. They shared an impromptu snack in the kitchen, Lily excitedly telling Claire about school while devouring slices of bread with jam. Logan watched, feeling a wave of gratitude for all the people who were going out of their way to make them feel welcome. Later, after Claire had left and Lily was busy drawing in the living room, Logan found himself standing on the balcony, watching the sun set over the trees in the yard. The day had been full of emotions, hope, anxiety, gratitude, longing. But above all, there was a growing feeling that maybe, just maybe, they really could build a life here. His phone vibrated in his pocket. It was a message from Hawthorne, asking how the day had been and reminding him of the meeting at the university tomorrow. Logan typed a quick reply, thanking him and confirming his attendance. Then, with one last glance at the darkening sky, he went back inside. "Hey, Lil," he called, entering the room. "How about we make some popcorn and watch a movie before bed?" Lily's beaming smile was all the answer he needed. As they settled down on the sofa, the smell of popcorn filling the house, Logan felt a peace he hadn't experienced for months. The challenges were still there, waiting to be faced. Tomorrow would bring new worries and responsibilities. But at that moment, with Lily snuggled up next to him and the soft sound of the movie in the background, Logan allowed himself to believe that everything would be okay. They had taken the first steps in their new life, and together, one day at a time, they would keep moving forward. The Southern Oregon University campus was a maze of red brick buildings and winding paths lined with leafy trees. Logan walked nervously, adjusting the strap of his backpack on his shoulder as he consulted the map on his cell phone for the third time. He had dropped Lily off at school just over an hour ago, with the promise that Claire would pick her up at the end of the day. "You must be Logan Carter," a female voice called out. Logan turned to see a middle-aged woman with short gray hair and red-framed glasses approaching him with a warm smile. "I'm Dr. Amelia Foster, head of the Social Sciences Department. We've been expecting you." Logan shook her hand, feeling a mixture of relief and anxiety. "Thank you for seeing me, Dr. Foster. I hope I'm not late." "Not at all," she replied, guiding him towards one of the buildings. "In fact, you're well ahead of schedule. This will give us time for a more detailed conversation before the official meeting." As they walked, Dr. Foster asked questions about Logan's previous studies, his academic interests, and his expectations for his return to university. Logan answered as best he could, but he couldn't help feeling a twinge of insecurity. It had been so long since he had been in an academic environment. "Logan," Dr. Foster said, stopping in front of a door with his name on it. "Before we go in, I want you to know that we are aware of your unique situation. The New Chance Foundation has informed us of your circumstances, and we are committed to providing all the support necessary to ensure your success here." Logan felt a lump form in his throat. Thank you very much, Dr. Foster. I just hope I can live up to expectations." She smiled gently. "It's not about meeting our expectations, Logan. It's about you reaching your potential. Now, let's go inside and discuss how we can make that possible." The meeting lasted almost 2 hours. Logan found himself surrounded by teachers and administrators, all eager to help him create a study plan that suited his needs and responsibilities. They discussed online class options, flexible schedules, and even the possibility of a personalized study program. When he finally left the meeting room, Logan's head was spinning with information and possibilities. He had a preliminary schedule in hand and a list of books to buy. The reality of returning to university suddenly seemed much more concrete and, frankly, a little scary. "Logan!" Richard Hawthorne's voice surprised him. The older man was waiting in the hallway, a friendly smile on his face. "I thought I'd drop by and see how the meeting went. How about a coffee?" Minutes later, they were sitting in a coffee shop on campus, Logan absent-mindedly fiddling with his coffee cup, while Hawthorne watched him intently. "So," Hawthorne began, "how are you feeling?" Logan hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "Grateful, excited, and completely terrified." Hawthorne laughed, but not in a derogatory way. "Those are perfectly normal reactions, Logan. You're embarking on a significant journey. It's just that—" Logan paused, searching for the right words. "All of this is incredible. It really is. But what if I can't? What if it's too much? Lily needs me. And now there are all these classes and assignments and—" "Breathe, Logan," Hawthorne interrupted gently. "No one expects you to do everything yourself. That's why we're here. The foundation, the university, Claire, we're all committed to helping you succeed." Logan nodded slowly, feeling his breathing calm down. "I know, it's just, sometimes it feels like I'm balancing spinning plates, and I'm afraid that everything will fall apart if I blink." "It's an apt analogy," Hawthorne agreed. "But remember, Logan, you're not alone on the track. There's a whole team ready to help keep those plates spinning. Your job is to focus on your growth and Lily's well-being. Let us help with the rest." Hawthorne's words brought a little comfort, but Logan still felt the weight of responsibility. He glanced at his watch, realizing that it was almost time for Lily to leave school. "I should go," he said, getting up. "Claire's picking Lily up today, but I promised I'd be home when they arrived." Hawthorne nodded, getting up too. "Of course. And Logan, remember that you're just getting started. Give yourself time to adjust. Rome wasn't built in a day." Logan smiled faintly. "Thank you, Mr. Hawthorne, for everything." The drive home was a blur of conflicting thoughts and emotions. Logan barely registered the beauty of the fall day, his mind busy with class schedules, book lists, and worries about how he would balance all this with caring for Lily. When he arrived home, he found Claire and Lily in the kitchen, in the middle of what looked like an elaborate art project. There was glitter everywhere, and Lily had a smudge of blue paint on her cheek. "Logan?" Lily shouted, running to hug him. Look what we're doing. It's a welcome home poster. Logan smiled, feeling some of his anxiety dissipate as he saw his sister's enthusiasm. Wow, that's amazing, Lil. It'll look great in the living room. Claire approached, wiping her hands on a cloth. How was the meeting at the university? It was intense, Logan answered honestly. There's a lot to process. Claire nodded understandingly. I imagine it was, hey, how about I prepare dinner while you and Lily finish the poster? I brought some ingredients and thought I'd make lasagna. Logan hesitated. You don't have to do that, Claire. You've already done so much today. I want to, she insisted gently. Consider it part of my job as a social worker and part of being a good neighbor. Besides, she added with a smile, I love to cook, and my house gets very quiet sometimes. Surrendering, Logan joined Lily on the poster project. As they glued sequins and drew flowers, he found himself relaxing for the first time all day. The smell of lasagna in the oven filled the house, mixing with the scent of paints and glue, creating a strangely comforting atmosphere. Over dinner, Lily talked animatedly about her day at school, the new friends she was making, and how she couldn't wait to start real classes next week. Logan listened intently, amazed at how easily his sister seemed to adapt to all these changes. Later, after putting Lily to bed, Logan found himself sitting on the balcony, looking up at the stars. Claire joined him, handing him a cup of tea. You know, she said softly, you're doing very well, Logan. He laughed humorlessly. I don't feel like that most of the time. Claire sat down next to him. Nobody does, especially at the beginning. But look at what you've already accomplished. You've moved to a new city. You're enrolling Lily in school, going back to university. That's a lot for anyone to handle, let alone someone your age. Logan was silent for a moment, letting her words sink in. Sometimes, he finally admitted, I'm afraid I'm failing her, with Lily, and with my parents. Claire put a gentle hand on his shoulder. Logan, the very fact that you worry so much already shows that you're not failing. You're doing the best you can in incredibly difficult circumstances. And from what I can see, Lily is a happy, well-adjusted child. That's thanks to you. Claire's words brought tears to Logan's eyes, tears that he quickly tried to cover up. Thank you, he murmured. They sat in silence for a few minutes, watching the stars and listening to the night sounds of Ashland. Finally, Claire stood up. Try not to stay up too late, she advised. Tomorrow is another day, with new challenges and new opportunities. After Claire left, Logan stayed on the balcony for a while longer. He thought about his parents, how they would react if they could see Lily and him now. He thought about university, about the classes he would soon be attending. He thought of Lily, sleeping peacefully upstairs, confident that her older brother would take care of everything. And for the first time in a long time, Logan allowed himself to feel a real sense of hope. Yes, the road ahead would be difficult. There would be days when he would feel overwhelmed, days when he would doubt himself. But there would also be days of laughter with Lily, of exciting discoveries at university, of quiet moments like this, appreciating the beauty of his new home. Balancing all this would not be easy. But as he climbed the stairs to check on Lily one last time before going to bed, Logan felt ready for the challenge. One day at a time, one step at a time, they would build their new life here in Ashland. And who knows, maybe one day, when he looked back, Logan would see that all those spinning cymbals had turned into a beautiful symphony. The sun had barely risen when Logan woke up, the sound of the alarm clock echoing through the still dark room. He got up quickly, moving quietly so as not to wake Lily. Today was the day, his first day of classes at Southern Oregon University. As he got ready, Logan couldn't help but feel a mixture of excitement and apprehension. It had been so long since he had been in a classroom. Would he be able to keep up? And how would he balance all this with looking after Lily? Logan, Lily's sleepy voice snapped him out of his thoughts. She was standing in the kitchen doorway, rubbing her eyes. Are you really going to have to go today? Logan knelt down to meet her eyes. Yes, Brat, remember? Today's my first day at school. But don't worry. Claire will drive you to school and pick you up afterwards. And I'll be home just in time for dinner. Lily pouted, but nodded. "Promise you'll tell me all about big school." Logan laughed, ruffling her hair. "I promise. Now, how about we have breakfast together before I go?" As they ate cereal and talked about the day ahead, Logan felt a wave of gratitude for these simple moments. No matter how busy or stressed he got, these little rituals with Lily always centered him. The sound of the doorbell announced Claire's arrival. "Good morning, Carter family," she greeted cheerfully as she entered. "Ready for the big day?" Logan nodded, trying to look more confident than he felt. "Ready as I'll ever be, I guess." Claire smiled understandingly. "You'll do fine, Logan. Remember, it's normal to feel a bit lost at first. Give yourself time." After saying goodbye to Lily with a tight hug and another promise that he'd be home for dinner, Logan grabbed his backpack and headed out. The fresh morning air helped clear his mind as he drove to campus. Southern Oregon University was buzzing with the energy of the start of the semester. Students were hurrying in all directions, some looking as lost as Logan felt. He consulted the map on his cell phone, determined not to be late for his first class. "Lost!" A friendly voice surprised him. Logan turned to see a young woman with short, colorful hair smiling at him. "I'm Zoe. Let me guess, first day?" Logan laughed, feeling a little less tense. "That obvious?" "Only to the trained eye," Zoe joked. "Where are you going?" "Thompson Auditorium," Logan replied, showing his timetable. "Introduction to Social Psychology." Zoe's eyes lit up. "Hey, that's my class too. Come on, I'll show you the way." As they walked, Zoe talked animatedly about the professor, the course, and the university in general. Logan found himself relaxing, grateful for this unexpected encounter. The class itself was a surreal experience for Logan. Sitting in the large auditorium, surrounded by dozens of other students, he felt momentarily overwhelmed. But as soon as the professor began to speak, Logan found himself completely absorbed. The theories, the concepts, the discussions, all of it ignited a curiosity he didn't know he still possessed. The rest of the day passed in a blur of new information, unfamiliar faces, and a growing feeling that perhaps he really could do this. Between classes, Logan checked his cell phone, relieved to see messages from Claire confirming that Lily was fine and excited about her own day at school. It wasn't until late afternoon, as he rushed to his car to drive home, that reality hit him. His head was full of reading he needed to do, work he needed to start, concepts he needed to revise. How would he fit all this into his already hectic routine with Lily? The late afternoon traffic seemed especially slow, and Logan found himself getting more and more anxious. He had promised Lily that he would be home for dinner. Glancing at the clock in the car, he realized it would be a close call. When he finally arrived home, he found Lily and Claire in the kitchen, in the middle of preparing what looked like a homemade pizza. "Logan!" Lily shouted, running to hug him. "You almost missed the time to make the pizza!" Logan hugged her back, feeling some of his tension dissipate. "Sorry I'm late, brat. The traffic was terrible." Claire smiled understandingly. "Don't worry, Logan. Lily and I were having fun, weren't we?" Lily nodded enthusiastically. "We made the dough from scratch, and I chose the ingredients." As they finished preparing the pizza together, Logan found himself relaxing. The smell of melted cheese and fresh herbs filled the kitchen, creating a cozy atmosphere that seemed to wash away the worries of the day. During dinner, Lily bombarded Logan with questions about big school. He answered as best he could, amazed at her genuine interest. "What about you, Lil?" Logan asked between bites of pizza. "How was your day?" Lily's eyes lit up. "It was amazing. We started a science project on plants, and Miss Olivia said that my drawing of the life cycle of a flower was the best in the class." Logan smiled, feeling a surge of pride. "That's great, Lil. I can't wait to see that drawing." After dinner and putting Lily to bed, Logan found himself sitting at the kitchen table, surrounded by books and notes. The silence of the house was interrupted only by the ticking of the clock and the occasional turning of pages. He was in the middle of some particularly dense reading when he heard a small noise. Looking up, he saw Lily standing in the kitchen doorway, hugging her teddy bear. "Hey, brat," Logan said softly. "What's the matter? Can't sleep?" Lily shook her head, coming closer. I had a bad dream. Can I stay here with you for a while? Logan hesitated, looking at the pile of work in front of him. Then, without a second thought, he pushed the books aside and opened his arms. Of course you can. Come here. Lily snuggled into his lap, her head resting on his chest. What are you studying? She asked sleepily. Oh, boring grown-up stuff, Logan replied with a smile. Would you like me to read some to you? I guarantee it'll put you to sleep in no time. Lily laughed softly. Okay. Logan began to read quietly, simplifying the concepts as much as he could. To his surprise, Lily asked occasional questions, her genuine interest evident even through her sleep. It wasn't long before Lily's breathing became deep and regular. Logan held her for a few more minutes, savoring the moment of peace. Then, careful not to wake her, he carried her back to bed. Back in the kitchen, Logan stared at the pile of work that still awaited him. He was exhausted, but he knew he needed to get on with his reading. With a determined sigh, he grabbed a mug of coffee and plunged back into his studies. The hours passed, and Logan alternated between moments of intellectual clarity and periods of frustrated confusion. Several times, he found himself looking at the photo of his parents on the fridge, wishing he could ask them for advice. It was only when the first rays of sunlight began to penetrate through the curtains that Logan realized he had spent the whole night studying. He stretched, feeling his muscles protest after hours in the same position. Glancing at his watch, he realized it was time to start his morning routine. In a few hours, he would be back at the university, ready for another day of classes. As he prepared breakfast, Logan couldn't help but wonder how he would keep up the pace. Balancing his studies, caring for Lily and his own needs seemed an impossible task. But then he heard Lily's light footsteps coming down the stairs and saw her sleepy smile as she entered the kitchen. And at that moment, Logan knew that, somehow, he would find a way. Because Lily deserved his best, and he was determined not to let her down. "Morning, brat," he said, placing a bowl of cereal in front of her. "Ready for another day of adventures?" Lily nodded enthusiastically, and Logan felt a renewed determination. Yes, it would be hard. Yes, there would be sleepless nights and moments of doubt. But looking at his sister, Logan knew that every challenge, every obstacle, was worth it. Because at the end of the day, it wasn't just about getting a degree or keeping a promise. It was about building a better future for both of them. And Logan was willing to do whatever it took to make that future a reality. The weeks turned into months, and fall gave way to winter in Ashland. The trees that once displayed golden leaves were now bare, their branches covered in a thin layer of frost on the coldest mornings. For Logan Carter, each day seemed to merge with the next in an exhausting but necessary routine. The alarm clock went off at 5:30 a.m. as usual. Logan opened his eyes, feeling the weight of another sleepless night. He got up silently, moving around in the dark so as not to wake Lily. The house was cold, and he shivered as he headed for the kitchen to make coffee. As the kettle bubbled away, Logan opened his laptop, determined to review his notes for the midterm exam he would have that afternoon. The words seemed to blend together on the screen, and he rubbed his eyes, trying to focus. "Logan?" Lily's sleepy voice surprised him. She was standing in the kitchen doorway, her unicorn pajamas crumpled and her hair disheveled. "Hey, brat," Logan said, forcing a smile. "It's still early. Why don't you go back to bed?" Lily approached, her eyes fixed on her brother's tired face. "You were up all night again, weren't you?" Logan felt a pang of guilt. Lily was becoming more perceptive by the day. "Just a little bit. I have an important exam today." Lily frowned. "But you said we were going to bake cookies last night. You forgot." The guilt intensified. Logan had promised Lily that they would bake cookies together, a tradition his parents used to keep on Wednesday nights. With all the preparation for the exams, he had completely forgotten. "Oh, Lil, I'm sorry," he said, pulling her into a hug. "I promise we'll make the cookies tonight, okay?" Lily nodded against his chest, but Logan could sense her disappointment. When she pulled away, his eyes turned to his laptop. "Can I see what you're studying?" Logan hesitated. Her social psychology studies weren't always appropriate for children, but the genuine interest in Lily's eyes made him give in. Sure, come here. He sat her on his lap and began to explain, in simplified form, some of the concepts he was reviewing. To his surprise, Lily asked insightful questions, her small face frowning in concentration. The moment was interrupted by the sound of Logan's phone. It was a message from Zoe. "Hey, Logan, don't forget we have that group study session today before the exam. 10 a.m. in the library, okay?" Logan cursed softly. He had completely forgotten about the study group. Looking at his watch, he realized that he would barely have time to get Lily to school and get to the university on time. "Everything okay, Logan?" Lily asked, noticing his worried expression. Yeah, he replied distractedly. "I just need to hurry a bit today. Come on, time to get ready for school." The morning passed in a frantic blur. Logan barely had time to take a sip of coffee as he helped Lily get dressed and prepared a quick breakfast. In the car, on the way to Lily's school, he couldn't help but notice his sister's unusual silence. "What's up, Lil?" he asked, looking in the rearview mirror. Lily shrugged, her eyes fixed on the window. "You'll remember to pick me up today, won't you? It's art club day." Logan felt his stomach sink. With the exam and the study session, he had completely forgotten about Lily's art club. "Of course you did, brat. I'd never forget that." The words rang hollow even to himself. After dropping Lily off at school, Logan hurried to the university, arriving at the library only a few minutes late. Zoe and the others were already there, surrounded by books and notes. "Hey, sorry I'm late," Logan gasped, dropping himself into a chair. Zoe gave him a worried look. "What's up, man? You look exhausted." Logan forced a smile. "I'm fine. Just a bad night's sleep. Shall we get started?" The next few hours were a confusing mix of theories, concepts, and heated discussions. Logan struggled to concentrate, but his mind kept going back to Lily, to the unbaked cookies, to all the little promises he'd been breaking lately. The exam itself was an ordeal. Logan stared at the questions, his exhausted brain struggling to formulate coherent answers. When he finally handed in the test, he felt like he had run a marathon. It wasn't until he was in the parking lot, about to get into his car, that panic struck. Lily, the art club, he'd forgotten. Logan picked up the phone, his hands shaking as he dialed the school number. After a few agonizing moments, the secretary answered. "Hello, this is Logan Carter, Lily Carter's brother," he said, his voice shaking. I was late picking her up. Is she still at school?" There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Mr. Carter, Lily was picked up about half an hour ago by Mrs. Bennett. She presented the authorization you signed allowing her to pick Lily up in emergencies." Claire. Of course. Logan felt a wave of relief, followed immediately by a wave of shame. How could he forget his own sister? "Thanks," he mumbled before hanging up. The drive home was a blur. Logan barely registered the familiar streets, his mind a whirlwind of guilt and self-recrimination. When he finally parked in front of the house, he saw Claire coming out of the front door. "Logan," she greeted him, her tone gentle but with a note of concern. "I figured you'd be here soon." "Claire, Logan began, but words failed him. Claire put a hand on his shoulder. "It's all right, Logan. These things happen. Lily's inside, doing her homework. Maybe you two need to talk." Logan nodded, feeling completely defeated. "Thanks for picking her up. I don't know what came over me." "You're overloading yourself, Logan," Claire said softly. "It's understandable, but it's not sustainable. Maybe it's time to consider some changes." With those words, she said goodbye, leaving Logan standing on the sidewalk, feeling more lost than ever. Inside the house, Logan found Lily sitting at the kitchen table, her sketchbook open in front of her. She barely looked up when he entered. "Hey, Lil," Logan said hesitantly. "I'm sorry I didn't pick you up. I got caught up in college." Lily shrugged, still not looking at him. "It's fine. Claire picked me up." The indifferent tone of her voice hurt more than any accusation could have. Logan sat down next to her, trying to find the right words. "Lily, look at me," he asked softly. When she finally raised her eyes, Logan saw the hurt she was trying to hide. "I know I've been very busy lately. and I know I've broken some promises. That's not fair to you. You said we were going to bake cookies, Lily muttered. And you've never forgotten to pick me up before. Logan felt his heart break. I know, Brat, and I have no excuses. It's just, things have been difficult at college, and I'm trying to cope. But, don't you like spending time with me anymore? Lily asked abruptly, her eyes filling with tears. The question hit Logan like a punch in the gut. What? No, Lil, of course not. You're the most important person in the world to me. It's just that... Then why are you always studying? Why don't you play with me anymore? Why do you forget the important things? Lily's words came out in a torrent, the tears now streaming freely down her face. Logan pulled her into a tight hug, feeling his own eyes fill with tears. Oh, Lil, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I love you more than anything in the world. I'm trying to do what's best for both of us. But I think I've lost my way. They stayed like that for a long time, Lily sobbing against Logan's chest as he stroked her hair, murmuring words of comfort. When they finally broke apart, Logan wiped the tears from Lily's face with his thumb. How about we bake those cookies now, and then we can talk about how to make things better, okay? Lily nodded, a small smile appearing on her lips. Can I choose the shape of the cookies? Of course you can, Brat, Logan smiled back. And you know what? Tomorrow I'm taking the day off from college. How about we make a day of it? We can go to the park, watch your favorite movies, anything you want. Lily's eyes lit up. Really? Really, Logan confirmed. And I promise I'll find a way to balance things better from now on. You deserve more than leftovers of my time, Lil. You deserve the best of me. As they moved around the kitchen, preparing the cookie dough, Logan felt a weight being lifted from his shoulders. He knew there was still a lot to sort out. His obligations at college, the balance between studies and family, his own limits. But looking at Lily, seeing her smile as she cut the dough into shapes of stars and hearts, Logan knew he would find a way. Because at the end of the day, it didn't matter how many degrees he got or how well he did in his exams. What really mattered was there, in that kitchen, covered in flour and laughing at something that only brothers would understand. And Logan swore to himself that he would never again lose sight of what really mattered. Spring arrived in Ashland, bringing with it not only the blooming of flowers, but also a sense of renewal for Logan and Lily Carter. The months that followed the art club incident, as Logan mentally referred to it, were ones of intense self-questioning and gradual change. Logan was sitting on the veranda, a steaming cup of coffee in his hands, watching the sun rise over the distant hills. It was Saturday, and the house was still quiet, Lily taking advantage of the opportunity to sleep in. As he gazed at the pink and orange sky, Logan reflected on the road they had traveled. After that night of tears and cookies, he had made significant changes to his routine and priorities. The first thing he did was look for Dr. Foster at the university. He still remembered that conversation vividly. Logan, Dr. Foster said, her tone gentle but firm. What you're trying to do is incredibly difficult, being a full-time student and a full-time guardian. It's too heavy a load for any one person to carry alone. Logan nodded, feeling the weight of his words. I know, but what can I do? I can't abandon my studies, and I certainly can't abandon Lily. Dr. Foster smiled understandingly. No one is suggesting either of those options, but there are alternatives. What do you think about reducing your workload? We could create a more flexible study plan that takes into account your responsibilities with Lily. Wouldn't that delay my graduation? Logan asked, concerned. Yes, it probably would, she admitted. But Logan, life isn't a race. The important thing is to get to your destination, not how fast you get there. And it's even more important to make sure that you and Lily are okay during the journey. That conversation had been a turning point. With Dr. Foster's help, Logan reorganized his academic schedule. He reduced the number of courses per semester and opted for some online classes, which gave him more flexibility. In addition, he finally accepted more help. Claire became an even more constant presence in their lives, not just as a social worker, but as a friend and mentor. She helped out with Lily a few afternoons a week, giving Logan time to study or simply rest. Zoe, his college classmate, also became an unexpected support. She started coming to study at the Carters' house, often bringing snacks and staying for dinner. Lily adored Zoe, especially when she helped with art projects. The sound of sleepy footsteps brought Logan out of his thoughts. Lily appeared on the balcony, still in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. "Morning, sleepyhead." Logan smiled, opening his arms. Lily snuggled into him, yawning. "Did you make pancakes?" she asked hopefully. Logan laughed. "Not yet, but how about we make them together? We can use that new recipe Zoe taught us." Lily nodded enthusiastically, already more awake. As they moved into the kitchen, Logan couldn't help noticing how Lily looked happier, more confident. The dark circles that had begun to appear under her eyes months ago had disappeared, replaced by a healthy glow. As they prepared the pancakes, chatting and laughing, Logan remembered another important change they had made: therapy. Both he and Lily now attended regular sessions, individually and together. At first, Logan had been skeptical, but the sessions had proved incredibly useful. They provided a safe space for both of them to process their grief over the loss of their parents, the challenges of their new life, and the fears and insecurities that sometimes threatened to consume them. "Logan," Lily said, interrupting his thoughts, "do you think Mom and Dad would be proud of us?" The question took Logan by surprise. He knelt down to meet her eyes. "I'm sure they would, brat." "Why do you ask?" Lily shrugged, absent-mindedly stirring the pancake batter. "It's just, sometimes I think about them. And I wonder if we're doing things the way they would." Logan felt a lump in his throat. "Ah, Lil, I think about them all the time too. And you know what? I think they'd be very, very proud. Not because we're doing everything perfectly, but because we're trying. We're taking care of each other and learning to be happy again. That's what really matters." Lily smiled, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "I love you, Logan. I love you too, brat, more than you can imagine." The rest of the morning passed quietly. After breakfast, they decided to go for a walk in the local park. It was a Saturday ritual they had established over the last few months. Time to themselves, with no distractions, no obligations. As they walked, Logan holding hands with Lily, he couldn't help thinking about how his life had changed. Yes, there were still challenges. Balancing his studies, work, he'd got a part-time internship at university, and looking after Lily still required constant juggling. But now, unlike before, Logan felt like he was really living, not just surviving. He was present in the moments with Lily, savoring the small joys of everyday life, and, surprisingly, his studies had improved. With less pressure and more support, he was doing better than ever in his classes. On their way home, they found Richard Hawthorne waiting on the porch. Lily ran out to greet him. She had developed a special fondness for the older man, who often brought books and small gifts on his visits. "Mr. Hawthorne," Logan greeted him with a warm handshake. "We didn't expect to see you today." Hawthorne smiled, his eyes shining with something that looked like pride. "Well, I have some news I thought you might like to hear in person." They settled down in the living room, Lily nestling next to Logan on the sofa, while Hawthorne sat in the opposite armchair. "Logan," Hawthorne began, "the new Chance Foundation has been following your progress closely over the last few months. I have to say, we're impressed. The way you've risen to the challenges, how you've prioritized Lily's well-being without abandoning your own goals, well, it's exactly the kind of story we hoped to see when we started this program." Logan felt his cheeks heat up at the compliment. Thank you, Mr. Hawthorne. But really, I didn't do anything alone. I had a lot of support." "Exactly," Hawthorne nodded. "You've learned one of the most valuable lessons. Accepting help is not a sign of weakness, but of strength and wisdom." Lily, who had been quiet until then, spoke up. "Logan is the best brother in the world. He makes the best hot chocolate and he never forgot to pick me up from school." The adults laughed, and Logan ruffled Lily's hair affectionately. "Well, I've got the best little sister in the world to keep me in line." Hawthorne smiled, looking fondly at them both. "That's why I'm here today. The foundation has decided to extend our support. Logan, we want to offer you a full scholarship to complete your studies, no matter how long it takes. In addition, we would like to set up an education fund for Lily to ensure that she has the same opportunities in the future." Logan was speechless, feeling his eyes fill with tears. Next to him, Lily was jumping up and down with excitement, although she probably didn't fully understand what the offer meant. "Mr. Hawthorne," Logan finally managed to say, his voice breaking, "I don't know what to say. It's more than we could have dreamed of." Hawthorne stood up, putting a hand on Logan's shoulder. "You deserve it, Logan. Both of you. What you've achieved, the bond you've strengthened, the resilience you've shown, it's inspiring. And it's exactly the kind of story we want to share with the world." That night, after Lily had gone to bed, Logan found himself on the balcony again, looking up at the stars. The future, which had once seemed so uncertain and frightening, now shone with possibilities. He thought of his parents, how proud they would be to see Lily growing up happy and healthy, to see him pursuing his dreams without sacrificing what was really important. Logan knew that there would still be challenges ahead. Life rarely follows a smooth, straight path. But now he felt prepared to face whatever came his way. Because he had Lily by his side, a supportive community around him, and a newfound confidence in himself. As he walked in, Logan stopped in Lily's room, watching her sleep peacefully. "We did it, Brat," he whispered, "and we're going to keep doing it, together." With a smile on his face and his heart full of hope, Logan went to bed, looking forward to what tomorrow would bring. Because now he knew that, no matter what happened, they would face it together. And that, more than anything else, was what really mattered.